Hello. It's amazing that one of the most powerful prayers ever given to Christendom is also one of the most controversial. Just as controversial as Genesis 3:15. In the Douay-Rheims version of Genesis 3:15, we see that the Bible says that she shall crush your head. But in all or most of the modern translations of the Bible, it says, it or he shall crush your head. Now, the difference might seem slight to people, but it is actually a lot of difference. Because to say that it is not Our Lady who will crush the head of Satan seems to indicate that it is Jesus who will crush the head of Satan. And that can't be, because Jesus is God and Satan a creature. Jesus in the Blessed Trinity created the devil. So, Jesus and the devil cannot be on the same pedestal. If it is Jesus that will crush the head of Satan, Lucifer wouldn't mind at all, because he knows Jesus is God. But God raised a creature like Satan to be the one to crush his head. And because he has spread so much controversy about this woman, the Holy Rosary has also become controversial. Now, people say, where is it in the Bible that you should pray to Mary? Many Christians all over the centuries, since 1214, when Our Lady gave the Rosary to Saint Dominic in Toulon, France, many have experienced the efficacy of the prayer called the Rosary. The Rosary has brought succor where there is affliction, peace where there is war, peace in families where there has been turmoil. It's brought faith where there has been no faith. The Rosary has done everything possible that God can do to man. Why is this Rosary so powerful? One person quipped some time ago that he who has the Rosary is more powerful than the President of the United States, the most powerful man on earth. You may wonder, how come? How can this be? Our Lady once quipped to a very holy soul that just 1 decade of the Rosary is more relevant, more significant, and more powerful than 2 million people in 3 days of night revivals holding their hands in the air and screaming to high heavens. What is the Rosary? What is the origin of this most powerful prayer? Join me and Louis Kosmarek, who is the guardian of the pilgrim statue of Our Lady of Fatima in America, as we take you through some startling facts about this most awesomely powerful prayer in Christendom, the Holy Rosary.
President Woodrow Wilson said at the end of the First World War, "This is a war to end all wars." 20 years later, the Prime Minister of England, Chamberlain, in 1937, went to Germany to seek a peace treaty with Adolf Hitler. He got Hitler's assurance that there would be no war. But Our Lady had said at Fatima in 1917, "When you see the night illumined by an unusual light, know that the Second World War is upon you." That light did appear on January 25, 1938. It was seen over North Africa, Europe, parts of the United States, Canada, Alaska, and many other parts of the world. It was a blood-red leaping flaming light that danced about the skies until 3 o'clock in the morning. Many saw it, but didn't remember that Our Lady had said it would be the beginning of the Second World War. 45 days later, Hitler started the Second World War. The 25th of January is the feast of the conversion of St. Paul. It was a blinding light that St. Paul saw too, which converted him. Europe did see light. but plunged itself into the darkness of war. As you know, in 1492 AD, Christopher Columbus discovered America. But did you know that he was a great Catholic? His cause for canonization has been introduced. His life was totally wrapped up in Our Lady, and he said the Rosary daily. 2 of his 3 ships had already been named Pepinda and Memina. The 3rd ship, which was to be a flagship, he proudly called the Santa Maria, the Holy Mary. Before setting sail, he spent a good portion of time in a church before the statue of Our Lady, Star of the Sea, beseeching her guidance. Once having set sail, Christopher Columbus commanded all 3 ships to come close together each evening, and in one mighty voice all sang the Salve Regina in honor of Our Lady. He sailed until October 12th, the feast day of Our Lady of the Pillar. In the year 36 AD, Mary appeared on top of a pillar in Saragossa, Spain, to St. James, one of the 12 apostles. At 2 o'clock in the morning of October 12th, Christopher Columbus discovered America. The first place he landed was an island which he proudly called St. Salvador, or St. Savior. The second island he landed on, he named Immaculate Conception Island. Today, we know that island as Conception Island. A large body of water in the area, Christopher Columbus named the Sea of Mary. In 1493, in the month of November, he made his second of 4 trips to the New World. This time, he had 17 ships, and this time, he had a brand new flagship, which he proudly called the Maria Galante, or Gallant Mary. In his will before he died, he requested that the first church erected on American soil be dedicated to Our Lady under her title, the Immaculate Conception. Of the 13 original colonies, 1 had been named after Our Lady, and that was Mary's Land. Today we call it the state of Maryland. There was a group of people one time touring the Vatican. They asked the Holy Father, "Your Holiness, of all the treasures in the Vatican, which is the greatest treasure? Would it be Michelangelo's Pietà, valued today at $15 million? Or one of the great paintings by Botticelli or Leonardo da Vinci? Just what is the greatest treasure in the Vatican?" Pope Pius X reached into his pocket, pulled out his rosary and said, "This is the greatest treasure in the Vatican." On October 7, 1571, one of the greatest naval battles ever fought in the entire history of the world took place in the Mediterranean Sea off the coast of Greece at Lepanto. Turkey had amassed the most powerful navy in the world at the time under Ali Pasha. Prior to this great battle, Turkey had been attacking all of the Catholic ports of Europe, threatening an invasion of Catholic Europe. The reigning pontiff at that time was Pope St. Pius V. He urged the Catholics of Europe to put a fleet together to combat this threat. When this was done, the Holy Father selected Don Juan of Austria to be the commander-in-chief of the Catholic fleet. Don Juan had a great devotion to Our Blessed Lady. When the Catholic soldiers and sailors boarded their ships to engage in battle, they literally boarded the ships with the rosary in one hand and the sword in the other. The Pope realized then that the Catholics didn't have a chance against this powerful Turkish fleet. So he urged all the people of Europe to pray the Rosary for a Rosary victory. The Rosary was said in some churches around the clock. The two fleets engaged at 11:30 a.m. on October 7, 1571. The battle waged until 5:30 in the evening of that day, when all of a sudden the wind changed direction, giving a tactical advantage to the Catholic fleet. The Turkish fleet, which was outnumbering the Catholics 10-1, was utterly routed. The ship of Ali Pasha was boarded. It was perhaps the greatest upset in the history of naval warfare, and it is because of this great Rosary victory that October 7th has been designated as the feast day of Our Lady of the Holy Rosary. Now, the Turks waited 112 years to fight back, this time with the most powerful army in the world under the most brilliant leader in the world at that time, Taran Mustafa. He boasted that he would take over Catholic Europe, that he would station his forces at St. Peter's Cathedral. He started off his attack with 250,000 men in Austria. They were temporarily halted by German and Austrian soldiers. The reigning pontiff at that time quickly called on King John Sobieski of Poland to come to the defense of Catholic Europe. King John had a great devotion to Our Lady and her Rosary, and he immediately came with some 65,000 horse-mounted soldiers. All the way from Poland to Vienna, he had his soldiers recite the Rosary. Having arrived at the siege of Vienna, much to the jubilation of the German and Austrian soldiers, he lined up his soldiers for battle. He gave one command. He passed it through the ranks that the command was this: I want every soldier to go into battle with two words on his tongue: Jesus and Mary. Then King John Sobieski sent a message back to the Holy Father in Rome, which said, I came, I saw, Jesus and Mary conquered. In the 6-year span of World War II, from 1939 to 1945, there were more rosaries said than ever had been said since the rosary prayers were introduced. What effect did these rosaries have on the outcome of the war? Did our Lord accept these rosaries? Did Mary really intervene? Here are some of the facts. You draw the conclusions. August 15, 1940. The greatest air battle ever fought in the entire history of the world, including today, took place over the skies of London, when 27 squadrons of English Spitfires and Hawker Hurricanes shot down 187 of Germany's finest airplanes, thus putting an end to their invasion of England through their secret code Operation Sea Lion. That victory came on August 15th, the feast day of Our Lady's Assumption into heaven. Fact: Japan bombed Pearl Harbor on December 7, 1941. But it was not until the next day, December 8th, that the United States officially went to war against Japan. December 8th is the feast day of the Immaculate Conception of Our Lady. And ironically, the patron saint of America is the Blessed Lady under her title, the Immaculate Conception. Now the whole world knows that if America had not gone to war, the Allied forces may never have won the war, and the world's freedom would certainly have been threatened. Fact: for 2 years, Germany, Japan and Italy were defeating the United States, England and Russia. The turning point of the war came on February 2nd, 1943, when the powerful German Sixth Army under Field Marshal Vapoles was crushed at Stalingrad by Marshal Zhukov. February 2nd is the feast day of the purification of Our Blessed Lady. Well, there are some military historians who say that that is not true, that the turning point of the war did not come at the Battle of Stalingrad, rather that it came at the Battle of Kursk in Russia.
Well, that's all right. Let's take that battle.
The Battle of Kursk was decided on July 16, 1943, when the powerful German Ninth Army under General von Missenstein was defeated by General Rufus Hosky of Russia. July 16th happens to be the feast day of Our Lady of Mount Carmel. Was this all a coincidence? Or was it all Our Lady's way of showing us the power of the Rosary during the wars? Fact: August 15, 1945, Japan accepted the terms of the Pakistan Declaration and surrendered on September 2, 1945. August 15th is the feast day of Our Blessed Lady's Assumption into Heaven. Fact: September 8, 1945, the first American flag flew over Tokyo. September 8th is the birthday of Our Blessed Lady. After World War II was over in 1945, Communist Russia gobbled up as many countries into a fold as she possibly could. One such country was Catholic Austria. The Austrians tolerated the Russians for 3 years, and they had had their fill. But being such a small country with a population at that time of only about 7 million people, they thought to themselves, what could they possibly do? The Russians had 220 million people. What could they possibly do? They couldn't possibly fight them. Then somebody in this great country reflected that it was the great Don Juan of Austria way back in October 7th, 1571, who had crushed another red menace, the Turks, through the power of Our Lady's Rosary. So they decided to try Our Lady's Rosary. About 700,000 people, that is 10% of the population, promised to say the Rosary daily, so that the Russian communists would pull out of Catholic Austria. They prayed for 7 years, and lo and behold, the communists did pull out of Catholic Austria.
They pulled out in 1955.
When you hear the month and the day, it should give you goose pimples on top of goose pimples. They pulled out on May 13th, the feast day of Our Blessed Lady's apparition at Fatima, when she said, "You must pray the Rosary." This does not even qualify for a coincidence. This is strictly the power of the Rosary. The Austrians accomplished through the power of Our Lady's Rosary what the Hungarians could not do a year later, when there was a bloodbath of 25,000 people. In Austria, not one drop of blood was shed. The Rosary did it all. Till this day, many historians have been baffled. Why does a communist country like Russia pull out of such a strategically located country, so rich in mineral and oil reserves? This was a miracle of our time, a great miracle of the Rosary.
So, say your rosary no matter what situation you find yourself. Our Lady said in the Book of Truth that if 100 people can say the rosary, they could save their nation. That those who say the rosary are all protected. And when they say more, they can extend that protection to others. So say your rosary in these very difficult times. The Holy Rosary, from Christopher Columbus to the Battle of Lepanto in 1571. From the Battle of Lepanto to all the wars that have been fought. From all the wars that have been fought to the Bay of Pigs in 1962, the incident that almost brought the world to its first nuclear war. All modified and averted by the Holy Rosary and the powerful names of Jesus, Mary, and Joseph. You have not heard the last of it. Join us again on another CD where we keep on exploring the power behind this most powerful prayer, given to us by no less than the Holy Trinity itself.